Welcome back to another episode of the Booktroverts podcast. I'm McKayla.
I'm Meg.
And today we are talking about Heat of the Everflame. This is part 2 of our deep dive. So if you missed part 1, go check that one out. Today we are covering chapters 22 through 45. As always, these will contain spoilers, and it will have spoilers for books 1 and 2 and all of book 3. So if you haven't read the books yet and you don't want to be spoiled, maybe don't listen to the episode. So I'm going to turn it over to Meg. We did our ratings in the first episode, so I'm going to turn it over to Meg to get us started on the deep dive.
Yeah, so we kind of split it. Each part we split into sections. That way it's easier to talk about. So starting off with chapters 22 to 29, this is when the group looks to meet up with Luther's contact, the Jaguar, while in Umbros. He kind of is leading them that way specifically to try and get help to basically get back to Lumnos. And they start exploring the area while they're waiting to head back. And Zalaric, who we meet at the Second Chance Inn, has told them that he will get them out secretively, which seems to kind of be par for the course for everything in Umbros. So that is where we start. I guess the first thing would be we do get hints at DM being able to hear people's thoughts, read minds of sorts, and kind of the mind tricks that this area is known for. So that's kind of where we get that first glimpse of more of her powers coming in. And then we jump right in literally to the Second Chance Inn where we meet Zalaric. So I wanted your thoughts on that whole interaction because it's obviously it sets up for stuff down the line. But did you see him being as important as I guess he was, or maybe relevant to the story? As weird as that sounds, I don't know.
So obviously once we find out he was Luther's contact, he has been helping move the half-mortals, I figured that would kind of be the extent of his relevancy in the book. Like, oh, it was just DM getting to meet this person that Luther met with. Did I think he was going to become part of the group, travel with them? Potentially, I think he's being set up to be Taryn's mate. No. And this, I think, is an unpopular opinion. I didn't really dive deep into what other people's thoughts were. I do not like him. It's not that he's done anything that I'm like, ugh. It's, not the level that, like, I don't like Henry, I don't like Vance. I don't like the direction he's being set up in, because to me, I don't feel connected to him as a character. He just feels like someone who's just there. He's part of the group. I really can't get a good read on his intentions. I don't think he's a bad guy, but I do think he is an opportunistic guy, is kind of what I'm picking up on. And I don't know, I just don't like him in that sense of like how he's being positioned in the story. I kind of would have preferred if he was just this person they met in Umbros and they left him there. I don't know. I don't know what other people's takes are. I feel like that's probably unpopular though, but I do not like the fact that it seems he's being set up to be Taryn's mate, because I love Taryn and I don't love this for him.
It's so funny you say that because I don't mind him, honestly, but I agree with everything you said. I didn't expect him to be as important. I kind of figured it was just going to be this person that was a contact, maybe had, also made contact with Orly at some point in his life and all of that. But I didn't expect it to be as powerful of he was one of the children that Luther had basically saved. I'm so intrigued because I feel like the way his attitude is, I feel like it's good for Taryn. But at the same time, I agree. I didn't expect them to try and set everyone up with something, setting everyone up with someone. I didn't expect that. So that was kind of a little bit of, this is going to be interesting to see how this unfolds in the next book. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of meh on him. I think in the last episode, I literally said, oh, I really like him. But after time has settled in and said, okay, do I actually really, really like him? Or is it just kind of like, I like his character. He's cool, but I mean, he's had to fight for everything his whole life. So I guess that's probably more of where the opportunistic comes in, is just he kind of had to just do things to make, ends meet. But it's very interesting to see where he'll go in the story. Because I don't know if it's just going to be a quick, he's in this book and then, that's it. Like, that's all his growth opportunity is too.
I am curious to see, though, if he even makes it through the next book. Not that I think the war would get him, but because he is the child of, oh, his name is escaping me, the guy, oh my god, he's one of the 20 houses. He's the child of one of the people part of, like, the big royal families in Lumnos, and he's not hiding it. When later in the book they end up going back to Lumnos, he's very open to the fact, like, that's my dad, I don't care, I'm gonna be here. And so I'm worried that the houses are going to do something to him.
I know. Was it Hanover House? I think he is, because it was going to be a huge issue. I'm blanking on that piece. But yeah, to your point, I don't know if he will make it. I mean, but is it also one of those, if any of the houses try to go after him and he is tied to Taryn, does it become an attack on a Corbus house? And that always seems to be a whole issue too. It's going to be interesting though, because the houses already seem to have a little contention and stuff like that. And I mean, granted, Diem kind of just set down the law and said, okay, this is it, I'm going to be your queen, and that's pretty much it. But I don't know how much of this will play into not into part 4, but into book 4, especially with all of the issues going on. So I don't know. I think we'll see more of him, but to what extent, I guess, to your point of, does he just make it to page 2 and then that's it? You know?
Yeah, I feel like once we get to part 3, I have some theories around what I think could play out with him, or, you know, the direction could go. But yeah, I feel like, unpopular take, I don't really love him. Also, I felt so stupid after the inn name didn't really trigger anything for me. I just remember being like, why are there so many Lumnos descended here? And I was so confused by it. Now, hearing the inn name, Second Chance Inn, very fitting. And then I just wanted to go back to the point where you made about her being able to hear people. This was another instance where I just wanted to shake her, because I'm like, clearly you're hearing thoughts. People are not saying these things out loud. No one else in your group is reacting to these things you're hearing. And it's not things people would be saying in public for random strangers walking by to hear. Yeah. So it's just like, a little bit of critical thinking would have been nice here. And it happens multiple times with her. And I got so frustrated.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because at this point, I pretty much said, okay, she's going to have this power. And I think she even says at one point that it becomes so much with how many voices she's hearing. And it feels like there's a lot going on in her brain. And I don't know, for being such a warrior female main character, there's so many points where you just want, like you said, you want to shake her and say, okay, have you been paying attention to any of this? Because the rest of your group knows exactly what is going on. And I don't know when you're going to find this out, or it's going to be literally right in your face of, oh, okay, that's why it's happening. So that's where it gets tough with her. And I don't know if Penn specifically wrote her this way to be frustrating, but I don't really get it. It's a little too obvious at times if we can get it reading it the first time, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like a lot about her character. I feel like this is like one of the very few things that bother me about it. So overall, I like her, but sometimes I'm just like, I want to shake her. But also such good foreshadowing for her getting the powers as they travel through the lands. I loved that. Yeah,
I really like it too, because I thought it was really nice that I think Luther even says, have you been to X, Y, and Z places before? And she had, when, you know, her and Henry had gone on adventures and stuff. So he was already putting it together that, okay, she might have these powers without even having to step foot again in those areas. And she just has random things. But as they've progressed further and further, she's getting more of the powers. But yeah, I loved that aspect of it. I just kind of wish she'd questioned it more of, wait, why am I hearing things? What is going on? Of, okay, I was able to do this over there and this here. And I think she just needs a little more time to process, is kind of how her character is. It's just a lot of processing time.
Yeah, I think also she's one of those people that, like, deep down, she knows what's going on. She just doesn't want to admit it to herself. And so I think that's what's going on. Also, I mean, this is my favorite area that we go to in the whole book. I loved how integrated the mortals and the descendants are in this realm. And I think for her, it was nice to see that, because that's like what she's aiming for. So that was a cool aspect. And I know you had compared it to Crescent City in the last episode. So.
Yeah, it was very much just everyone living together, which I think I had wrote in my notes at some point again and said I just love the fact that it's a hint at where it could go and what she's like you said, what she's looking for and the potential that they have if they could just get everyone to be okay with being next to someone who's different and not like them. Because that's a huge issue, is they've kind of just the descendant have become entitled and they think they are better than mortals, and mortals are just frustrated with the situation they've been put in because they were here and they didn't have the situation. So I'm curious to see how it works, if and when it does. I have no idea what's going to happen. I feel like we know what's going to happen at the end of the story, but at the same time, who knows? There could be so many different things that it goes. But yeah, that was pretty interesting too. Oh, I have one thing I have to go back to before we jump into the spicy scene, I guess is my next after this. But I was so intrigued at this point because they're at the second chance inn and they get the room and they say, oh, I don't even know, like, oh, you'll get to chat with people, whatever. And then they're trapped in here. I did not expect Diem's godhood to take over the shield and then start absorbing it, but also wanting to take from the person who wielded the shield. So it was very much going into attack mode of not only, destroy, protect, and all the stuff that it has been saying for the rest of the series, but this one really was pretty much just a completely destroy this person and take all of their power. And that was, I don't know, that was an interesting thing that happened at first, because I feel like she has used those powers into other, I think when she had gotten hit when they were back in Igneos, that she took Luther's power into her. But this one, the fact that it started wanting to destroy the person, I thought was an interesting addition to what we already know about hers.
And kind of what happened at was it the challenging, what it was called? When she blew him up. Yeah. So she has used it before. It's definitely when it does like that destroy in kind of the bold font. But again, reading it in the moment, I was just like, oh, interesting that this is happening. Didn't really think anything of it. Now, after finishing the book, I'm curious if it's either a power that another realm has that we didn't get to visit in this book, or if it's a power she's getting from her dad, who technically is this 10th realm. If maybe that's his power, because she's definitely getting it from someone. I don't think it's like her innate thing. So who else has this?
I thought the same
And Luther doesn't have that ability, so it's not like a common thing all descendant can do.
Right. Yeah, I was starting to question was it coming from her dad's side, because we do start to get more and more pieces about the person who's helping out the Guardians. We get more of that information as we go through this section, but yeah, I was questioning if it was from her father, because she knows he's descended, obviously, but what power does he have? And it's not like it's shown to be from any of the 9 realms to begin with.
Yeah, and we find out he's in this whole Forbidden Realm area, and he's kind of this 10th person that was banished. So again, it's not stuff she doesn't learn any of this until the end, and I don't even think at that point she's even connecting the two dots. And I wasn't connecting it while reading this part, but now after reading it, being able to like step away for a couple weeks, I'm like, I wonder if that's connected.
Yeah, I agree. I was on the same page, so I'm curious if we get more. I feel like we will. I say this all the time, and then do the comments actually age well or not? But I'm hoping that it ages well and that we find this out in the 4th book. So that would be a huge piece to leave out. I didn't have anything else before we get into, I guess, I don't even know, the spicy scene. That kind of...
Spicy. I was pissed.
We waited so long for... I think it was chapter 25 it happened. And then finally we got a spicy scene. But Luther literally is just hands off, don't touch me, stay away from me type thing, which, we find out is him getting injured and everything. But I feel like this was just a low-key tease just to give us something, especially with how long the slow burn has been. Which I feel like we talked about it when we were recording part 1, that it literally was the last 3 chapters that we actually get.
93%.
Yeah.
93%. No. But chapter 72, this pissed me off because I was waiting. And I was like, oh, we're just going to end it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I maybe wouldn't have been as upset if it was followed pretty quickly after with something else. But we don't get the next one for a while.
Yeah, they put so much detail into what happens with the group in between. It's not like it was a little gallant.
I do not care.
Yeah, exactly. I expected more of it. I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I expected the part 2 of that spicy scene to happen pretty much right when he was healthy again. And it was one of those that they were just going to say, to the hell with it, that he's kind of injured still. That's when I thought it was going to happen, not all the way at the end at all. I was waiting for it, and then it didn't happen.
I thought the exact same thing. Like, you almost lost him. He's healthy. Wouldn't that be the prime time? No. Barely saying I love you at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was a little frustrated with that, but it was a nice taste, but I could have used that taste in book 2. At the end, I think maybe even we had gotten a scene like that at the end of book 2, I would have been fine if it was still more drawn out in this book. But it's like we did not get anything. This is the first thing we're getting, and it's in the 20-something page chapters into book 3, and then you have to wait till the end of this massive book to get like the actual scene. Ugh, so irritating.
I know, and don't get me
Slow
wrong,
burn
I feel like
is
we're
not
very
for me.
selective. No. I have learned that if there is any extreme slow burn, I gotta be warned ahead of time, because we said it, that we did not get informed that this was more of the fantasy side with an extreme slow burn, because it was well written. It was very good in the sense of, you felt the love and passion that Luther has for Diem, but it just felt really oddly timed. I mean, it was timed well in the sense of it meant for the conversation that he was trying to have with her, that, pretty much saying his goodbyes. But I don't know, I wish it had happened in a different part of the book. That way it made sense.
Yeah, if you like slow burns, I think you'll like this. But if you're someone who does not generally read those, it might be a little frustrating. I will say though, like you said, the yearning, all of that was written really well. You were at the point where you're like, come on. Where some books, it feels out of left field, it feels rushed, it doesn't really fit the plot. So I think it was well done. It's just, personally, I would have preferred it to happen a little earlier. I was ready for it, the second book. It's fine. We all get there at our own pace.
Yeah, I know. And Luther was just so good in book 2 that I think it just would have been even better having a part of that. Because I didn't even care if it was a full spicing. The fact that it was just, him doing something, that to me would have been fine in book 2, like you said, because he was so good in book 2. Every time he basically confessed his love without saying those words, he just said it poetically to her. It would have just been chef's kiss at that point.
Exactly. It would have been perfect at the end of book 2, right after the challenge, before they went for the coronation, kind of like where those bonus scenes take place, the bonus chapters. Would have been perfection. But I will say that at this point, when I'm like, okay, he's not really like in it, or it's not like progressing much further, I already had my suspicions that he had been attacked by the Godstone weapon. This is really when it was solidified for me, because I was like, something is going on here. He's being weird. Like, Luther in book 2 would have taken advantage of this moment. Luther in book 3 not taking advantage. What is going on?
I agree with you. And then was also interesting, we talked about this, I think, in text or whatever, but I was completely delusional in the sense that he had, performed the mating bond and that he needed to get back or whatever. And I mean, people would probably listen to this and say, what is wrong with you that you thought that and you didn't catch on that he was injured? But I was just such in the moment that I wasn't thinking. But literally looking at every single page now is just, oh my God, he literally was just saying his goodbyes very slowly, of prepping her to keep moving forward without him. And it's like, of course you're injured. And like you said, he isn't himself. I think they even say his aura is off, that he just doesn't feel as powerful in the room anymore. I should have caught on. So it was very obvious. I was
his
just
power
oblivious.
was dwindling. Well, I think though, if you had that suspicion initially, a lot of the stuff would have supported that. Like, if it didn't cross your mind, then you weren't going to be led to that. If I had thought that initially, then I would have been like, oh yeah, all of these things are pointing to this.
Yeah, I just love my notes. I swear to God on everything holy that he had performed the mating bond, and then literally 2 pages later, I'm a dumbass. He's injured. Like, my notes are so bad for that. Oh man, I was like, okay, never again am I making this type of dedication to a theory.
You were committed. That's all that matters.
I was very committed.
And it gets to be a bigger shock for you when you find out, oh no, he's actually injured. 'Cause you're like, oh, did not see that one coming.
Yeah, it was definitely a go back and reread a few pages and go, Meg, it was there. Try next time. Oh my god.
The other things I had from this little section was Diem removes Luther as her high general and names Alex instead. And honestly, this is, of course, setting him up because she knows he's going to be king someday. I think she's looking at it from, we're probably going to get married at some point. He'll be king through marriage, whatever. Or if she doesn't make it, she knows that he's going to be the next strongest person that the crown would pass to. So I think for her, that is kind of where she was going. And I think she also was trying to find a place for Alex that fit Alex's skill set and also kept Alex's trust. And I think it also got to the point where Luther just was not a good fit for the High General because of his feelings for her.
Agreed. And I think too at this point, we get those bonus chapters from the second book that Diem literally appoints every single person except for Alex. And I think we talked about a few times of it's interesting that she didn't appoint her at that point. I mean, their friendship really wasn't that strong. I mean, she's part of the core four, but it was kind of that fourth person that you had, light ties to. But I think what really solidified it for her, not only with the fact that Luther would most likely end up being king and all of that, but I think a lot had to do with the fact that Alex just agreed with her and was going to do anything that she said back when they were at Igneos and was going to protect everyone else to keep things moving. And she kind of just listened to her queen at that point and said, okay. And the fact that she was able to follow rules that well, I think Diem said she will be perfect at this position because she's going to do the best for overall, not just for one specific person, because we see it time and time again that Diem doesn't value her life over anyone else's. It's all equal to her, or really other people over hers. And the fact that Alex kind of chose that way as well at one point, I think that probably just upped her chances of getting that position.
Yeah, and she can just see the bigger picture more than Luther can because he's so focused on Diem's well-being, Diem's safety, which Alex is too, but she can also zoom out and be like, this is what's good for the realm and for the mission that we're on. So I thought it was a good move. And Luther, he's still involved. He's going to get to the king spot somehow, some way, so it'll be fine for him. The other thing that happens is they go through that walk in the market. And again, she's like hearing the voices again, thinking that everyone's talking to her. But they stop by that stand that has the dragon fire, which is from all the Gryverns, and they have flames from Gryverns that have passed away. And somehow, like through Diem's emotion, she's able to control the flames in the jar, so make them go higher, go smaller, whatever. And the group kind of thinks this guy's scamming her, but she's controlling it. And this is when I really started to be like, does she have a connection with them somehow? Which I still think there's some connection there. Now, later, when another incident comes up that like kind of supports that theory, I was like, okay, well, I think it's because the Gryvern realized that she was the heir to the crown, or she was the new crown at that point. That's why it's interacting with her. But some of these Gryverns are dead.
Right.
And they're interacting with her. So are they still tied to that realm, and the flame that's left behind can sense who the heir is going to be, who the new crown could be? Is that what's coming from, or is there some connection there with her and them?
I literally have the same question, because I go, okay, is it part of, can she just control, I hate the word control, but does she have power over the Gryverns in every realm? Because I mean, Igneos literally betrayed the king and said, I don't see them, I don't know where they are, and then just pieced out. And I don't know if she does have the power that, like you said, the fact that a couple are dead, they kind of are individually their own thing. I mean, it's just a flame at that point. There's no new Gryvern because there's literally, once they're dead, there's no extras there. I was questioning the same thing because I really don't know if it means, is she going to take the throne of all 9 realms and that the flames all realize that she's of a higher power? I started going into theories of, is she something even higher than the 9 realms and not just a queen or, the throne and that's it? So I have no idea, but I'm really hoping we find out more about that because that would just be very, I don't know, poor if it was just a throwaway thing of look at the dragonfire here and then we don't get anything else. So I'm hoping we learn more about it.
Unless it is setting it up as foreshadowing for what happens in Montios when she's able to interact with the Gryvern and they're like, oh, that's how we know that you're the new crown. If that was why, but I don't know, like, it's just weird because that one that really interacted with her the most is no longer alive. And that same flame, she sees it later.
Yeah, the purple one, right? I think
the
it was
lavender
purple.
one, yeah.
Yeah. Too important just to be a huge section of it. It wasn't as if they just walked on by and then, that was it. Like, it was a huge part of the section of being in the market and everything. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know.
That market seemed cool, though.
I really wanted to be there. You know me, I love Umbros. It's my favorite place.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It's the best.
Yeah.
That's all I had for this little first section.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to say was we do get confirmation that the man from Diem's visions is helping the Guardians take down the Descended. So we do find out that officially this is the same person, and that obviously becomes like super important through the rest of the thing.
Spoiler, it's her dad. It is her dad.
Big spoiler.
Oh my goodness. I still don't know how to say his name. Daddy O.
Yeah, I'm not trying anymore. Okay, so the next section is chapters 30 through 45. This is when the group attempts to flee Umbros and quickly finds themselves back at Queen Umbros' palace. And the queen, Yourcell, prepares Diem for the war that has begun, giving her bits of information to help fight. And then the section does end with the group back at Lumnos Palace. So I feel like that overview is very much a super condensed section of what actually happens, because this section was so jam-packed, in my opinion, of information and data that we get that I think is important for the rest of the series.
1,000%. In reading it, I was like, oh my god, Meg is going to be so excited because you love the Queen of Umbros. I was like, she's going to love this. We're with her. We're going to find out all this stuff about her. And she did not disappoint.
No, not at all. And you're right. I was way too high. I mean, granted, I wanted them back in Lumnos because Luther had this extreme, urgency to go back. And I said, yeah, it probably makes sense. She needs to confirm that she is queen, yada, yada, yada. But man, I have a fun
you were
time.
waiting for them to go back because you thought they were going to be mates.
Yeah, I know.
You're like, we need to do the mating ceremony.
Yeah, right? We just need this to go through and then move on. Oh my god, yeah, that's true. Calling me out here. We did split this into, I guess, mini sections just because there was so much, like I said. So the first part is, I think we had 30 through 34, which they are obviously at the palace at this point. So, no, I'm sorry, they're not at the palace yet. This is pre-palace.
Yeah, this is when Zalaric has set up a way for them to escape on a boat, I believe. Yeah, they were trying to go to the ports. And we did leave out a detail of how there's only 100 Umbros Descended that live here. And they all are part of the Queen's army. Does any number over 100 is killed. So she basically has eyes and ears everywhere. So they were like, we have to find a way to get you out of here without her knowing that you're in her realm. Because again, crowns cannot visit other realms uninvited. And so this is when Zalaric was setting up that way for them to get on that boat without having to give identification or talk to one of the guards.
Yeah, which we do, I think right at the beginning, they literally start talking about the 3 different ports that are across three of the realms and what they're known for. And this one is known for its secrets, because it does seem like everyone is trying to hide something and get out. But like you said, with the 100 folks in the Queen's army, nothing really goes unnoticed. So I guess at this point, they're on the way to basically go to the port, and Diem really looks into Zalarg's mind. And this is where we kind of get hints of the betrayal at this point. I mean, I feel like it was kind of written obviously, but at the same time you could start questioning of, oh, is it going to be a double betrayal where it's, ends up trying to psych out the, what are they, Centenaries, I think is how you say their army name. So that was interesting. I don't know what you thought about that one, because I know she was still kind of in denial about the fact that she could read minds.
Yeah, I feel like that point is when she kind of connected it, like, oh, I probably can do this. I read it as he was subtly trying to tell her, read my mind, to prepare her. I think later when they talk about it, he plays it off like he wasn't doing that, but that's how I read it. I had a feeling he's about to betray them, but I don't think he has bad intentions with it. This is what I'm saying, like, where I think he's just more of an opportunistic person. He's not a bad guy, but if there's a better deal for him, he's going to take it. Also, like you said, he has had a very hard life, so I think it's just whatever is going to get him ahead, he's going to take. So I understand why he did that. But I agree on the double betrayal, because then I was like, did they have some sort of plan? Because
Yep.
Doesn't she go to talk
that.
to him or something? And I was like, oh, did they plan something ahead of time where he was going to get the group safe and she was going to stay behind or something? So I was waiting for that part. But no, I wasn't that surprised that he betrayed them. So I was like, this is not obviously going to go smoothly. Nothing goes smooth for this group.
Yeah, and the fact that they were in the marketplace and just hanging out for a while, and he, to your point, he does kind of give Diem information about his past and, his upbringing and everything. And it is pretty obvious that, I do whatever I have to at the end of the day to help myself. And if it benefits other people, I'll do that. But I got to only look out for myself at the end of the day. So, yeah, I was expecting the group was going to be split up at that point. And then we were just going to get Diem, and that's it.
And of course, we needed them to somehow get to the Queen, because we needed an interaction with her. She's been built up as this character who's kind of been pulling the strings in the background. So I'm like, of course, we're at her realm. She needs to make an appearance. So I wasn't surprised on the turn that took, which is what I would say, like, is kind of across all the books, where when the twists happen, you're not really caught off guard.
Yeah.
But it's also still satisfying that it's happening. Like, I'm not like, oh, predictable. I'm like, oh, predictable, but I'm glad that this is where we're going. Like, she didn't do some crazy left turn, so that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, because I wasn't ever mad at a point of something that I expected to happen, or, even if I didn't fully expect it to happen, but was kind of questioning it, wasn't ever mad. So it was still really, really good. But yeah, I was so excited that we got more of the Queen. I mean, I know I've been literally her fan since the first book, but it was just the fact that she has so much that she knows that we obviously in the first book, she kind of goes to talk to Diem about, do you even know what's going on? You were the daughter of the Forgotten, all that stuff. Obviously that's going to be important. She has to make an appearance, and a decent appearance. So this section, I was super thrilled that it had its own part. Like, it literally was a whole piece of this book. I don't even know how many pages it was, to be honest, but it was a lot of chapters.
Yeah, I felt like we were there for a long time. I immediately was suspicious, though, when she invites him to the palace, and she's like, I want you guys to stay for 3 days. I was like, why 3 days?
Yeah.
What's happening in 3 days? That is what kept me on the edge of my seat with her. I'm like, what is happening in 3 days?
It was way, way, way too specific.
Yeah.
Way too specific.
And every time they would start to get to a juicy convo, like, we're about to get answers, she's like, I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll tell you on day 3. I'm like, what the fuck is happening on day 3?
I know.
So I had a feeling we were not getting all the answers that we were promised in the section, which, disappointing. But like, something is so sketchy about this time frame.
Yeah, it was definitely I'm only going to give you breadcrumbs of info, and then you do kind of have to say, okay, you're going to figure out the rest later at some point, because that's pretty much what she set us up for, is we don't know everything and we're just going to find it out in book 4, I guess. I mean, I know we got some in the rest of the part 2 and 3, but yeah, I don't know if I think it'll be found out in the next book.
She's gonna have to find it out either on her own or someone else knows the information, but it's hard because this queen, we find out she's been around one of the 2 longer ones, so she knows a lot of the backstory of kind of what's going on right now, what's going on with her dad, how things were kind of put in place, so she has a lot of answers, and we didn't get them.
No, and it's also interesting. She mentions it multiple times that Father Ambrose has talked to her about, Diem has talked about everything else. I feel like Father Ambrose is the most forthcoming with information so far that we know about from the Kindred, because Luminos kind of does the little tricks of, you know, here's some information. I mean, she gave Luther kind of the path of, you will, you know, support a queen with gray eyes and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like Ambrose has the most detail to give. And I just don't know, is it he has all the information, or is he the only one willing to allow this group to hopefully learn from the mistakes of their, you know, family before them? I don't know. I was trying to figure him out.
Yeah, she does know a lot from him, but also I was like getting the impression, like, can she see the future?
I know.
She has those mind abilities. She can read thoughts. They can control, like, they can put things into other people's minds too, because like they've played like explicit scenes in each other's minds and kind of play with your emotions and stuff. So I was like, it kind of could go along with that, but some of the stuff, she just knew things that were going to happen in the future, and I'm like, did he tell you all this and we're just taking his word, or did he show you a vision? Can you pull up visions on your own as the queen?
Yeah.
I don't know. Something's going on there with some like premonition stuff.
I know, because even the fact that both Luther and Diem had the same vision of the battlefield and everything, and that literally was a huge part of the first and second book, I feel like there has to be something else going on that they, to your point, maybe the Kindred can give visions. I mean, I think Yrcel even says in this section that Ambrose, you know, based on whatever decision Diem made, that it could vary the outcome of the war. So I don't know if maybe they can see branches of,
she could see like both ways it could go. Yeah,
exactly.
So maybe that's why she said 3 days, because she knew we're not making it to day 3.
Right, like this is it, that's all that's happening.
Yeah. And then I liked that at the end of this little mini section that we broke it down into, Yrcel gives Diem access to her personal library, and that was cool because even though we didn't get the information from Yrcel, I mean, we got a little bit from her, but Diem's able to go in and read all the books and do all the things. It just sucks that she didn't have the Sophos power yet, where they can just scan and it just saves. So I'm like, oh, she could have saved all those books that she read, because jumping to the next little mini part, in the library she finds a diary from one of the original Kindred, which had so much information, but she only read a couple passages. And I feel like if she had read the whole diary or had time to, or could have just flipped through and put it in her memory, so many more answers would be in there.
I'm with you 100%. I didn't even think about that during the reading, but now that you said that, that is so accurate, because we could have had so much more in the database of her brain and could have been able to use going forward. I think it probably would have changed some stuff, because obviously we would have kept more information, I mean, you know, from the diaries and everything. But yeah, and I think even Yrcel specifically in this part too, with giving her the keys to the library, says, hold on to this key, you're gonna need it in the future, which again kind of alludes to the, you know, her being able to see the future, but also she can kind of see her end, which we find out. So
yeah, and Diem's like, it's so nice, I can come back and use her library whenever. And I'm like, because then in this next, I think it's in this next section, which is chapters 35 through 37, the queen basically tells Diem that she knows that she doesn't have much longer being the queen. She can really sense her heir coming up more. Obviously, she already knows who her heir is because she has these visions. And she says to DM, I'm your ally, I'm on your side. Because DM's so excited, like, oh, I have a partner. And then when she tells her this, but she goes, my heir will be like your biggest challenge yet. It's going to be like your biggest enemy or obstacle you have to get over. And now DM's freaking out. She's like, okay, well, I thought I could count on you. Now I'm not going to be able to count on this realm. Little does she realize, DM is the heir.
I know, which I think is important too, because in this section, Ambrose has literally asked her, would you sacrifice everything in this war? And DM immediately says yes. But the fact that yourself specifically says that her heir is going to be a big challenge for DM, I think is truly her internal battle that she has of she wants to keep her friends and family safe, and she'll do whatever she can to do that. But to the greater good of, are you sacrificing everyone else just to save Luther, for example, or to save, Teller or whatever? It's so I think it was that way, because at first I literally was just, great, it's going to be Simon, who was I guess the first, the top of the 100 for yourselves. So I figured it was him because he was more of that difficult character.
I thought so too.
And then when we find out that it's DM, I go, oh, okay, this was more, this is a deeper problem that she has to deal with, not someone else. So well done in that sense, because I really thought we were having Simon going to be taking over.
Yeah, I mean, he was written to fill that. Like I said in the last episode, the way things are written and how it's actually foreshadowing, but in the moment you don't pick up on it. Brilliant. I loved it so much. I want to jump back to the diary entry quick, because I can't remember which of the Kindred she's reading from, what realm they're from, but basically they're just relaying that something happened in their home area that they're from before they came here, and all of the siblings are worried about it except for the youngest one. The youngest one can't really be bothered, and it's starting to scare the other siblings. At first I was like, well, which of the realms is the youngest one? We need to be worried about the leader of that realm, because they come from this line of whatever. Again, brilliant foreshadowing, because it's very clear that that's talking about, at least I'm taking it to mean, they're talking about her dad. And so that's when later as we got into the book, I know we had talked about in the last episode, I think her dad also has the ability of all the other realms, and that's why they were nervous. But also how you mentioned the shield thing, maybe it's just because that's a really powerful one, that the shield can literally destroy and take magic. Now whether he absorbs it like DM does, TBD. But just setting up perfectly of how much more powerful her dad in this 10th realm is.
Yeah, and they can feel his aura way farther away than everyone else, which is a huge, point of you're powerful and you're, top descended in terms of strength and stuff. And I really do think that it is probably his power of being able to absorb, because of how quick they're able to get through each of the realms and destroy. I mean, there's a lot of descended fighting against one descended with mortals, and that's just sounded very harsh against the mortals, but I truly mean it, of their only weapon is Godstone. So yes, I know that they're heavily equipped for Godstone, but without him having the power to just take from other people, I don't think they would stand as much of a chance as they are doing now.
Yeah, so it goes back, like, even from the beginning, they've been worried about this younger sibling. Now I think his name is Ophakai, but I'm going to call him Daddy O. Is he a kindred?
I thought
or
that.
Is he like just one of the descendant in the line of this 10th realm?
Yeah.
That I'm not sure of. I could see it playing out either way, but just interesting.
So I'm jumping a bit to, I think it was literally chapter 37, so only the section after this, but there was a note that Yourself says that the kindred don't die, just their physical bodies did. And however, that information of how they actually die has been hidden because, Father Ambrose doesn't really give that information. But to your point, I think that Daddy O is the 10th kindred because in Orly's POV book 1, she keeps saying that she went back down and is trying to make sure that that person is dead from years before. And I think she thought she killed him, but he can't actually be killed. And I think he was able to take power and basically become a physical being again, maybe, or was able to heal himself. I don't know. But yeah, I think that he is. And that's why Diem has certain powers as well, is the fact that they are of a higher being than just being the crown. And that I honestly think I literally am just going to live and die by that mindset. So I could be wrong. We could be going against the whole mating freaking bond, but really Luther is injured. So you know what? I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
It makes sense. And I don't know. And like you said, they don't actually die. I thought of it as like maybe when they die, the soul of them goes into another body, so they stay alive, but they're living in as a different person every time. So kind of like the end of Rebel Witch.
Oh.
Like that kind of
yes.
concept is what I was thinking. So maybe Luther is Lumnos, and that's why he feels such a connection to her.
That'd be a freaking twist.
That would be a twist. Now I don't, like, that's just me throwing something dumb out, but like that type of concept where they don't realize that they are that person, but like the spirit of them is in. I don't know. It's like keep it going.
I mean, this could be interesting if that's the case. I think it just takes a whole different viewpoint on what we have so far for knowledge. So,
yeah.
Oof. So one other piece that we have when Diem goes into your cell's library is, I think there was a statue of the Everflame, and they kind of go into the detail of the position of it and all of that. And I don't know if this is just me, but I really think that Diem could also be a descendant of the Everflame, specifically Orly, because of her red hair. I mean, granted, obviously it'd be mortal side, but Orly's hair, they specify as being vibrantly red way too often for it just to be something said. So I question if, we get the whole spiel of she's the daughter of the Forgotten, but could she be daughter of Forgotten on both sides? The 10th realm and her mom's side, because they pretty much, destroy any mortals that claim love for the Everflame anymore. It's kind of taken out of their history books and all that. So I don't know. I could just be going unhinged there, but I was questioning that.
Did not cross my mind at all. But then after reading the book, I did see a theory, and someone mentioned this, and I was like, yeah. Literally one of their top points for the theories. The books are called Blank of the Everflame.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, they are. Like, obviously I knew that, but like it did not click. Obviously the Everflame is going to be important. It's in the title of all the books. And it is kind of like the first thing that her and Henry talk about, political wise, I guess we could say, in book 1. And that's like the first thing when they lay the groundwork for is like, oh, we don't talk about the Everflame anymore. So it would make sense if she was connected to it somehow. And maybe the Kindreds came in and removed the Everflame. It would be interesting if Orly was a descendant, but I'd be curious, like, does that mean Orly and Teller would have longer lives? Because there would be a little bit of magic there that would solve our problem with Lute Teller and Lily, if there was.
To give them a chance.
Yeah. But the other thing is, again, none of this clicked for me, so this is not my original thought, but in that theory video I had seen, they mentioned too how technically Diem was born on the soil where the Everflame was because she was born on that island. Because Orly was stuck there. And I think she either reads it or they're talking about it, but they talk about how pregnant women used to make the journey to the Everflame to have their children reborn on the soil because they would be protected or whatever. So that also could be playing into some of these powers that she has.
It's such an interesting thought. And I mean, this is probably my biggest theory that we don't have a lot of predictability. I mean, it might be predictable after we read the whole series, say, oh, wow, that was actually pretty obvious. But in terms of everything else, I feel like we've kind of seen it happening within, it's mentioned in part 1, and then in part 3 we get the answer. But this one is still TBD. And like you said, all of the books are of the Everflame, and we don't ever talk about it. So it's kind of just there. So that's where the whole daughter forgotten thing, I mean, the Kindred know that there's a 10th person. They just ignore that there's a 10th person. They didn't forget him when the Everflame has been forgotten. So I don't know if we've just always been, looking at that from a different angle.
It 100% makes sense. I was just there's certain things where I was like, it was so obvious. This, right over my head. So I'm glad other people like you are much smarter and picked up on it, because it makes so much sense. There's so much I think you could, if you went back knowing that or thinking that, there's so much you could find to support it. And the way that even she still uses some of the forbidden phrases that have to do with the flames, and it's been called out a few times, like you could be charged with treason for saying that and things like that. So it's definitely going to come in too. But that is crazy that there's one more book left in the series, and that book's going to have to address all of the Everflame stuff.
Yeah. I don't even know how long this book's going to be. I mean, this book was over 1,000
I heard
pages.
it was going to be a similar size to Heat.
Okay.
So 1,000.
Right. I mean, I'll take it. It's probably needed with how much we need to know. And
we need to have the blood war, basically.
Yeah.
Between her and her dad. We still have to kill off a couple more realms.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out this whole Everflame thing.
Yeah.
And we need to take on the Guardians. There's a lot we have to accomplish.
Yeah, true. There better be 3 or 4 parts to this thing. We need it sectioned off.
I'm sure it'll be broken up in sections, yeah. It has to be.
Yeah.
It's
probably going to be
battles.
Each piece. Exactly.
Yeah, the Everflame stuff. I think that's a really good theory.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah. We've kind of jumped into the next section in terms of chapters 35 to 37. But one of the first parts that was interesting is when they're all eating dinner at the palace. Yusel and everyone pretty much uses mind tricks, but she specifically calls out that they can erase memories, create them, and then replace emotions with pain and pleasure, which you had mentioned before. I was trying to figure out if they were doing this in extreme amounts with the guests. Because Luther, yes, he was already in pain and dealing with the injury and kind of knowing he was going to be done for it soon. But I was questioning if they were putting more emotions into them and really messing with them to escalate it to, I mean, she's crazy, this queen. She enjoys the weird shit, so it would not shock me if she enjoyed people having more pain or pleasure from whatever's going on.
Oh, I'm sure they were doing something. And also the questions they were asking, they definitely were reading their minds to know what are things they wouldn't want to talk about or that they're keeping hidden. Oh, let's ask them a question about that. So they definitely were doing some type of shenanigans there because, yeah, they just find that entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. And the other part, too, with the erasing memories is Yourself specifically says, once a mind is crushed, there is no saving it. Memories cannot be rewritten. Even blessed Father Umbros cannot restore what no longer exists. The soul is gone. And then it says, death is the only salvation you can give them. I literally am questioning, who is Diem going to have to kill at the end?
She's definitely erasing someone's memories.
Yeah.
And going to have to kill them. It's not just in there for no reason,
No. I mean, the fact that Yourself literally crawled over across the thing. Oh, don't do that to me, McKayla.
It's going to be someone big. And
like, what if Lily dies and, she has to remove his memories and then kill him off to... Oh. That'll be terrible.
I personally do not think book 4 is ending with all of these characters that we like being safe.
No, I don't think so. I think the ones we haven't seen a lot. Yeah, a lot of the ones in part 2. In book 2 and 3, I think are going to be ex-Nate in 4.
Yeah, and it has to be at least one person who is important to the story. And like Eleanor, I think she removed herself from the candidacy because she really wasn't in this book.
Yeah, I agree. But
So
Teller's way too important in terms of being her brother.
And so, yeah, either him or the Lily aspect, like something that would impact him.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but
I hope not.
she's going to have to erase someone's memory.
It's way too important and stressed constantly. I think your cell literally says, "You're not listening to me," and then goes into this whole spiel. And I really hope it's not. But you're right.
And she just talks about, like, would you do anything?
Yeah.
To see this through. So she knows she's going to come up with some type of task or roadblock or something that, she's going to have to make a hard decision.
I mean, just the fact that
she's not at that point though yet, because she does not know how to make the correct decision.
No, and I mean, this whole section has just been yourself saying to her, are you ready to sacrifice? Are you ready to deal with this? You have to be ready. All she's basically been saying is you need to prep yourself not just for hand-to-hand combat, but you need to prep yourself for all of the stuff that's going to happen to everyone around you, because you can't just save your whole group. Like, you can't do that and save everyone else. Ugh. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm sorry. Like, putting that into the ether is gonna be terrible for my brain.
Sorry.
It's okay.
We have to prepare.
I know. I might as well prepare now. There were a couple of pieces in this that were interesting that I think your cell says that Sophos has been trying to breed the descendant to get rid of specific realms. And I really think the term blood war has a lot more meanings than what the mortals were told, that I question if Sophos had caused a lot of issues across the board trying to breed out certain sections.
Not shocking after being to that realm.
No, not at all.
Doesn't shock me.
I feel like it was also a point now reading this one section over, like this one sentence over again, and having part 3. I feel like that was so important, because don't trust them was kind of the messaging that I got from here, but it was a throwaway comment when it was said.
Oh yeah, right over my head. I didn't even realize it until you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how much it stuck with me.
Yeah.
I wish it did more, because then I would have been prepared for part 3.
I even wrote this down in my notes and I wasn't prepared. It's as if I just read things, go, all right, this should be important, and then just completely remove it from my brain. I think this whole section was talking with the centenary who is pregnant with, I think her mate was from a different realm, and they're basically going to bring up the child to become one of the 100 for the army.
Was this Drusilla?
Yeah, and this was all about, they started talking more about the mating bond.
Yeah.
And then it creates
how they have like
mark.
A mark.
Yeah, which was interesting that if they're touching it, you can sense it, and kind of vice versa, which I think will play into part 3, which I know you have comments on. So.
It reminds me of those bracelets or those lamps they sell where you and your partner, you and someone else can each have them, and if you touch it, it lights up on the other person's. It's kind of what I think it reminds me of.
Yeah. That is weird. Yeah, that's so true. Except for a bracelet's like legit on your arm.
Yeah, like a tattoo almost. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So we'll go into the last part of part 2, which is chapters 38 to 44, and this is where we 100% find out that Luther has been poisoned by a godstone, and very bad, to the point where I think he's within a couple of days of dying at this point, because he has let it go for literally how long, which your cell also knew that this was happening and told him that Diem staying here was way more important than him basically living, which again, huge foreshadowing that entire time of just, yeah, my stuff is more important because you need to be here for the 3 days and you need to be here to get this information.
Yeah, like, was he gonna die on the 3rd day? Is that what the 3 days was?
I know.
It definitely was.
Actually, that's a good point.
It probably was that, and it was a test because she kept asking Diem, are you willing to do whatever it takes? Are you willing to, yep. And then the first test, she drops everything to go bring Luther to get help for him. So I think that was the queen trying to show her, maybe, like, no, you're not ready yet.
It could be. I mean, because
I don't know, I'm just trying to think deeper about it.
No, yeah, I was way on surface level there, but it is a good point because I don't even know how long it has been since the challenging. I mean, we knew the part in book 2 that the challenging before that was 30 days or 45 days, but this has felt very quick in the sense of the timeline that they've had in this whole book. So it's she hasn't matured enough or hasn't had a lengthy amount of time to really grow into this position. It's kind of just been thrown on her and said, okay, here you go, figure it out. And yourself definitely is trying to really get her into that mindset.
I would say it's probably been like a month.
Yeah.
Since she got captured, maybe? Because I don't even think she's really captured for that long. Like a week, maybe.
And the fact that they've been at this area for a couple days, maybe a week total from getting here.
Yeah, they weren't in Igneos very long either. So yeah, I don't think it's, like you said, not enough time for her to have like mature and have this big realization.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think a lot of it was probably a test of what is she gonna do, and like you said, she fails it immediately.
Because he was already injured by the time they got to the palace, so she would have seen that he was injured already. Yeah, it just started getting so obvious though, like when he had the women in his room and she's like, oh, he's cheating on me. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And they did kind of like the way the other centenaries framed it up. It made it seem not good. But I'm like, the way he talks to you, you really think this man's going to cheat on you? Clearly something's going on. And then finally she sees like the blackened veins on him. I'm like, yeah, this is why he wasn't really sleeping near you. He was being super standoffish. You weren't allowed to touch him. Are things clicking for you here? Again, not the best healer.
No, not at all. I mean, just the signs that you'd think you look for of someone is injured and they don't want you to find out, and again, I don't know. It just seems like this is just DM par for the course type thing of what she's gonna do or not do. So basically, after we find out that he was poisoned badly, they pretty much say, okay, we're going back to Lumnos, and Zalarg's gonna, go with them at that point, because he kind of agrees that he's just gonna flee as well. So I think Diem calls Sore at that point to basically come get them. And then it goes pretty quick from here of as they're trying to leave that Yrcel starts going basically head to head with Diem and finds out, they're trying to leave, of course. And then she starts telling Diem about finding your true calling, really trying to prep her for what's going to come next because of the, what she's doing. And she's obviously not making it to day 3 of the conversation at this point either.
Yeah, because that was the thing, like, they had literally one more day that they needed to stay to get the information, and Diem's like, nope, we're going to Lumnos now, because she's convinced that Mora would be able to maybe heal him using, like, mortal methods, which I don't know why Diem wouldn't know how to do those, because she has noticed, like, that paste she was putting on for Terran is not working on Luther, so she was hoping, bringing him to these healers would help, because I believe the queen did have healers already look at him.
I think that's probably what those 2 women were, is the fact that they were trying to help him.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, they have to kind of sneak out because she doesn't want the queen to know that they're like leaving before their stay is up, basically, and have it be disrespectful. But it really goes badly when the queen's Gryvern sees them leaving and can kind of read the intentions, and that's kind of when, like, things start going crazy and the fighting starts happening. Yeah, which again, the Gryvern already kind of, which we find out further along, that they can kind of see who the heir is going to be, and the fact that already is questioning, okay, this is who is going to be taking the place, and you're just trying to flee and all that stuff. So, because they kind of held off a bit, but then obviously, all hell breaks loose.
I was also trying to figure out, and this is just me thinking of if they actually stayed the next day, would he have, been in the same situation back at Lumnos, or would it have ended completely different? And I know that's just totally trying to play a whole different view on it, but I was trying to think of if DM just figured out something else, would it have worked? I don't know.
Well, I think she realizes he only has a few hours at this point. I don't even think she thought he had like the ability to stay another day and then leave and go back. Also, we have to factor in the travel time. And she felt like she had done everything she could do. So I think, if they had stayed, he probably wouldn't have lived. And to her, that was more important. Again, I think proving the point of, like, you're clearly not ready to do whatever it takes to succeed in your mission. Because if you were, you would have said, sorry, Luther, but I need to stay and get this information that's going to be helpful. So yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think it probably was like a test. But
yeah,
this is also where the dragon fire from the market comes back into play, because then the two Gryverns, they're escaping on Saray, and the two Gryverns are kind of going at each other, and they're trying to get out. And then somehow that lavender dragon fire just literally comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just all of a sudden starts helping.
Yeah, to like create a distraction so they could leave. I thought the Queen of Umbros had died in that moment.
I thought so too, because I thought it was just going to end with, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
You basically destroyed the heir, not the heir, I'm sorry. You destroyed the queen.
And so then after reading that, I was like, oh, maybe that's why she was saying 3 days, because she knew she wasn't going to live to the third day, so she could kind of string them along and didn't have to give the information up, because she could see that she was going to die from the lavender flames. But then she shows up later on the island. Yeah. So she clearly did not die. So that's why I'm thinking it's more was like the test regarding, would you sacrifice Luther for the good of this cause that you are after or whatever. But that was crazy. I was like, did she just die?
I know, because it was an off-page death. If it actually happened, it wouldn't have been,
No, she deserves an on-page death.
Yeah, she does. She really does.
But it was kind of wild. I thought that dragonfire, because she ends up buying it from the market.
Yeah.
The lavender one. And I thought it was crazy that it was able to, I just imagine it as like a little flicker inside of a jar. Like a little flicker like this.
Yeah.
And then it's able to, I mean, obviously we could see that she was making it grow with her emotions. But the fact that it was able to grow that much and like attack for her, I was like, what is going on?
I don't know. I question if it was a combination of, at this point, I think she gets all of the powers from the 9 realms. Like, we've realized that she has all of them. Is it that she's finally come into all her powers? Is it the, or most of them at least? I was trying to figure out, is it part that she has more powers and that the dragonfire can sense that, kind of like what it was in the market of, being able to control it? Or I don't know, can you play mind games with a flame? I mean, because it seems to have its own life in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's not fully dead. So I don't know if she can somehow move it. I don't know. I'm literally trying to make a sentence and it's not making sense, but I'm trying to figure it out as we go.
But I get what you're saying. It felt like it almost had a soul attached to it. Like,
yes.
It was able to control what it wanted to do. And again, just thinking about this right in this moment, so she doesn't have all the realms power yet, because she hasn't gone to Sophos yet. Like, there's places she hadn't been, or maybe she had already been to Fortos, but there's certain places that she had not been yet. So I wonder if either, and we don't know which land that Gryvern was attached to, I don't think.
I feel like they mention it, but I cannot remember to save my life.
Oh, I wish I remembered that then, because then I'm thinking maybe it's a realm that she had gone to as a kid. So she already was exposed to that power, so it recognized that she had the power, she was of that area. Or there are a few realms that we don't go to in this book, if maybe, except that all of them show up for the thing, so never mind. I was going to say if maybe one of those leaders had already passed away, and the Gryvern recognized that she had already ascended to be the next crown, and she just didn't realize it.
It could be. I mean, because there's a lot of ideas of what could happen there too, of why it just listened to her. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, also an important thing that we forgot to mention was like when they
Yeah.
get to Umbros, that's when everyone starts to notice because the queen makes her pull her crown out
Yes,
and
and
wear
it's
it, and
changed
they
again.
all start to realize that her crown has changed.
Yeah. It's also interesting too because even her crown started changing before she actually became the next crown. So I question she, if her godhood can sense it already ahead of time that she's gonna be taking this area, and then she slowly starts to
I
change.
think so.
Or is it or is it just because she has all the powers does her crown change because she can literally hit all 9 realms with, I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird, but they all were like, "Your crown looks different."
Yeah. Yeah, because she does have her bring it out a few times of, it has to be on you or whatever.
Yeah, because she didn't become. Well, didn't she defeat Igneos and become?
No, he was still alive.
Oh
He's
yeah,
the
so
one
maybe,
who
yeah.
kills her, your cell at the end.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then he also stabs DM at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it can sense it. But no, I just forgot to mention that. Like, she purposely is like, you need to wear your crown. And everyone's like, it looks different.
Yeah. I feel like that's also another thing that she just wanted to put things out into the ether for them to see and start
Yeah.
questioning. It's like her whole motive.
She wants to start the drama. She's a drama starter.
But
I
I
know, it was
love
crazy.
it so much.
I really was like, this is how she's going out, just these lavender flames. I can't.
Yeah. I know. Because like you said, she needs an on-page death. Like, we need to dedicate a whole section to her dying.
Yeah. And then in this like last little bit of part 2, we make it back to Lumnos, and this is the healing journey of Luther / is he going to make it? Couple big things in here. So this is when Teller finds out that Orly is the leader of the Guardians, and he's pissed.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame him.
Understatement. Yeah.
He just keeps being left in the dark about things. I'm sorry. You guys can't write a letter. Yeah. You have magic. There's no way to communicate with him about what's going on.
I know.
And this, again, perfect foreshadowing for where we go in part 3 with Teller. Because he's pissed.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, not told his mom's alive.
Yeah.
Now not told his mom is this, like, rebel leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the fact that DM was also part of that rebel group.
Oh, yeah, he didn't know
helped
that.
out. Yeah. I feel so bad for him because him and the dad, I really think now the dad, granted, the dad knew that Orly was still alive, that she was on some adventure and would come back. But Teller truly was the only one left out of everything. And it really just goes to show that they kind of kept treating him as the younger child. And I get that they're still, in their teens, in their early 20s and stuff, but they've had to mature and grow up so much quicker than what we do in that sense of, you know what I mean? So they're not giving him enough credit to what he deals with every day at the Descended school and what he knows. I mean, he's an intelligent kid. They literally mention it 5 billion times that he's so smart. They want him to go to Sophos to, continue research and all of that. But you don't have the decency to tell him anything. I mean, I think that was really just DM being selfish of, I don't want my brother to hate me yet. I want to just include it all together at some point so I can bring back, mom and say, aha, now you can hate us all together.
Yeah, I felt really bad for him. And like you said, completely justified, and it was the way that they were treating him throughout the whole series at this point. He's been nothing but supportive, in her corner, helping her out.
Yeah.
And it just feels like he's almost just not respected by them to know the information or be kept in the loop. And they're treating him with like little kid gloves when he's a mature person who could handle it.
Agreed.
So annoying.
I know. One of the other, I almost said mature people, but that's not the words I would use for him, but Eamon, this was a part that I had a question for you on. So DM basically just tells him off of the fact that she knows that he's the one who trampled the kid that Henry saw, when he saw that happen. And Diem kind of says, okay, you have so much good in you that I see, and you should choose to be that person over the person you have been because of your father. And, you know, he claims that his father has a lot of standards and all that stuff. And granted, I know that the father is not like a perfect person, but do you think Diem's on to something with Eamon potentially being more? Or is this just her being hopeful and optimistic with everyone?
Well, I think you would lean more towards there's something deeper to him, because I think you saw it. I think every story needs kind of some villains, unredeemable characters. I think he maybe falls into that. And I think his character is there to show that Diem really tries to find the good in everyone and gives everyone a chance. And I think it's going to be to her detriment in some cases, because it's like, how much more does this person need to show you their true colors before you accept that they're maybe not who you think they are? Like, even with Henry, we're seeing that. We're like, yeah, there is this other side, but she can't see him for who he is in the present day. She's like, well, he had this one moment. So, I don't know. I personally think Eamon maybe doesn't wake up choosing to be a bad guy, but I think he will continue to make poor choices because of the trauma he's faced, and it doesn't seem like there's therapy in this world. He would be a great candidate for some trauma therapy. I think even if she gives him like a chance to prove her wrong, or, you know, like, do the right thing, I think he can only do it to a point, and then he's just going to go back to his ways.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that if he is going to be redeemable at all, it's going to be the last thing he does, and that's it. I don't think he's going to make it as this, oh, he shifts, you know, and is this amazing thing down the line. Like, I think if he does become redeemable, it's to save someone and just says, okay, that's it.
No, I completely agree. I think if there's any chance of him doing a 180, it'll be in a final moment before he passes away or something, as like this final act. But no, I think also he was probably really nice to her in the beginning because she was new, and so she didn't know the dynamics, she didn't know anything about him, and he saw it as an opportunity to, oh, I could use her to maybe get what I want. And then when he noticed it really wasn't going his way is when he started to like do all these crazy things again. So I think he's just looking for how he can manipulate people to get what he wants. And again, like, I don't think he is a bad person. I don't think he intentionally chooses to be like that. I think it's also, though, just the way he was raised and the people he was around, because it seemed like he was really close with the dad, and the dad has that same tendency.
Yeah, I was going to say their father is definitely more of the chooses evil. I think that's just his personality. And unfortunately, with that type of upbringing and the fact that he literally beat his children constantly, I mean, yeah, I think you probably will start doing some of those same situations, because that's just your norm, unfortunately. You know what I mean? It's kind of what you were brought up in, and that's your childhood. So I just question how much of it is just throwaway comments to kind of add some content, or if it's actually going to have something that brings us back in, you know, in book 4. So I don't know, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely make some type of appearance in book 4. What it's going to be, who knows. Exactly. But speaking of the dad, I was a little bit surprised. So Luther is on his deathbed. Mora comes and she's like, there's nothing I can do, but she doesn't say it out loud. Diem's just able to kind of pick up on the look of like, you should start saying your goodbyes and preparing yourself. I thought it was very surprising that Diem gave Luther's father basically permission to come in and be with him.
Yeah.
Almost kind of at the request of Lily, though. But I was shocked that she didn't just like slam a door in his face and be like, he hates you, you've been terrible to him, no, you're not coming in at the moment. She gives them that opportunity, which again I think is just showing she cannot make a decision. Like, she wants to please everyone and she wants to give everyone a final chance to do the right thing, and it's like some people just cannot.
I know.
Granted, he doesn't do anything bad, but I just was surprised.
Yeah, and I know that it doesn't work out fully in her favor in the the third part of the book with her and Remus, but I do question if just some of that kindness that she showed him, will that have some impact down the line when she really needs his help indirectly or whatever. Because yeah, I think it's just how she is as a person. She wants to keep giving these people another chance. And I guess the other thing too is, even though, you know, he did try to kill Luther back when Luther was a kid, I mean, it's still your child, so maybe you would want those last couple of moments. I probably wouldn't have given him those moments. I probably would have said no. But to your point, it was to help out Lily, and that is a weak spot for her. She's not going to say no to her.
Yeah, and shame on Lily. I would have been like, absolutely not. You are terrible. Not even just terrible, but you literally tried to kill him. Mm-hmm. So you're getting what you wanted years later. Yeah. So don't come in here acting sad. Goodbye.
Exactly.
So the two of them shocked me a little bit, but I do have to say, I know we mentioned it in the last episode, the compass, and I love that Luther has just basically stolen the compass. The compass is his. And he's clutching it in his hands this whole time. Now, then it starts going, and she's looking around the room like, what's it pointing at? And she thinks it's the gift that Arboros gave her, that like kind of like a pill or a potion or whatever that's supposed to heal anything. And she's like, oh yes, this gift, I need to give it to Luther to make him feel better. Part of me also thinks the compass was maybe just pointing at her, because it knew, like, I need you, and you're the ingredient.
I know. I thought the same thing because at first when I read it, I go, the compass is pointing directly to the potion. And did Arboros, you know, create a cure for this that they've been hiding from everyone?
Yeah, I thought they had a cure this whole time.
I thought so too. But to your point, but now, so the only question I have, I guess, with that is she doesn't put any more of her, you know, the oh my god, what is that thing called? I'm blanking.
Like the salve?
Yeah, the salve, thank you. I could not think of the word.
But that one that she made didn't have her blood in it, like the one Taryn had.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out if it was pointing to the potion, like, because it ended up saving him. Like, she shoved it down his throat and pretty much said, okay, here's the whole thing. But none of her blood got in it, right? Like, it's not like we're missing one piece.
I don't think so. Did they kiss or anything during that scene? Like, I'm thinking maybe just, like, even bodily fluids from her had it.
I know. I'm literally trying to pull at anything here and say, was there any part of her involved in this potion?
Okay.
Because if not, then the potion definitely was a cure. And Arboros has been hiding this.
Okay, back to my book. Oh, yeah, okay. This part, Taryn's the one that hands her the compass and says, put it in his hand, it always calms him. And I'm convinced for like 3 seconds the compass was from Taryn's holding it, is pointing at Zalaric. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay, let's see. So in chapter 44, they're looking at the potion.
Yep.
And she grabs it. My fists clenched at his entitled tone, aggravating the gash I'd cut in my palm and sending a fresh torrent of blood dripping from my hand. I snatched the vial from my desk and whipped back around to hiss some furious reply. So there was blood dripping on her hand when she had the vial.
Damn it, I missed that the first time. So really the cure, is her blood. And this potion literally was not going to do anything, but I think Luther thought it was going to cure him, because I really think his whole push to go back to Lumnos was, there is a cure back in your room.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that whole part about the blood, but that makes so much more sense that her blood went on his mouth. Because like she said, she just stuffs it pretty much down his throat. So
it drips, yeah. Like I said, the foreshadowing written in here, brilliant.
Damn, I missed that part.
So her blood. So, you know, we could have just stayed at Umbros, dripped some blood like a vampire into his mouth.
Yeah, like, here you go. Drink up, bitch. I mean, then again, it would not shock me if your cell even knew this. Potentially knew it. Because, I mean, she knows she's going to die. She probably had this in the 3 day of like, oh, just cut your wrist and let him drink it. He'll be fine.
We could have done this like a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But he ends up making it. And so glad, because I would not have been able to handle if he died.
Agreed. I really was nervous for a bit, but the fact that they kept drawing it out too, and we had a whole other part to the book, I don't think he's gonna die this quick. I mean,
yeah, it just
I don't
pissed
know.
me off that he just did not tell her what was going on.
I know their communication or lack of communication is,
for certain things, is really annoying.
Yeah, because other stuff they're more than willing to talk to each other, but this specifically, oof. Nothing.
So irritating.
Nothing.
Yeah. And then basically he says, like, okay, go get coronated now, because we found out that, like, the coronation isn't really complete.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
The ending of part 2 took me for a ride. It's like, right, here we go. This is it. What are we doing in part 3? What's happening?
Yeah. Did you have anything else for this little section?
No, I didn't. I'm still so shocked about the fucking blood. I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on it either while reading. But
that was more violent than the one that with Tarrant too.
Yeah, now knowing the end of the book, I was like, wait, there must have been something. And I was like, me, did she kiss him a bodily fluid? I was like, maybe anything that comes out of her body could be a cure.
I feel like we need to clip that specifically. Like, any body. Yeah, there was a bunch of blood. Got it.
Like, anything could just serve as a cure. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like I would have remembered. You know, I knew she didn't go in and mix blood in.
No. Now, this is where it also is interesting to me, too. So, going down theory lane here is, are all kindreds able to, is their blood a cure? Like, are all of the kindreds able to do this? Because Diem, in my opinion, is a immediate descendant from the kindred. But then again, they all kind of are through many years.
So maybe it's the Everflame in her.
Right. I don't know if it's the combo.
Yeah, because something in her also lets her make Godstone.
Right.
When no one's supposed to be able to make it.
No.
So I'm assuming the Everflame left Godstone behind, and that's why they're so limited.
Probably.
And so if she's a descendant of the Everflame, maybe that's how she can make Godstone and how she's a cure to it. Maybe that's coming from her mama's side.
Yeah. She got it from her mama.
Mm-hmm. So many questions for book 4.
I know. So many. And we haven't even gotten to part 3 in this conversation, too. I mean...
yeah.
Ooh,
part 3
so much
is wild.
There.
A lot happens in part 3, so get ready for the next episode.
Yeah, pretty much next episode. Good luck. So as we're covering more of this, just follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Booktroverts Pod. You can join us on Fable in our book club as well to see kind of what we're reading going forward. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned. Bye, everyone.
Bye.